Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is February 5th, 2025, and several La Liga clubs have united against Real Madrid because they're sick and tired of their antics when it comes to refereeing. Also, Hansi Flick has completely closed the door on Inaki Pena. And finally, Barcelona are tracking and interested in signing Daniel Munoz. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and this is the Barca News live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only do we discuss Barcelona news, but we also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and getting the discussion going. For those of you who be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to Goal Kids, Kickback, or Fanatics. And if you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links are down below in the description. All right, now really quick before we begin the news, I do have an announcement. I know tomorrow we're playing Valencia, and of course, as usual, I do post-match live analysis as soon as the matches end. However, tomorrow I am flying out of the country immediately after the match, so I probably won't be doing a post-live match analysis. If I do, it's gonna be from my cell phone at the airport. So excuse any noise or the bad quality of video or whatever that might happen. Again, I'm not sure 100%. It's all going to depend what time I arrive at the airport before my flight. If I can, I will do the post-match live analysis from the airport. Anyways, so let's dig right into the news in this first segment. Well, this first segment a little bit long because there's a lot to decipher here because it's in regards to Real Madrid, their antics, their shenanigans, their despicable behavior, and how that La Liga clubs have finally gotten tired of their crap and began to speak out. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, in the match against Espanyol, there was a clear tackle on Kylian Mbappe from the back by an Espanyol player. Should have met that foul merited a red card. That player should have received a red card. He didn't. He got a yellow card instead. And that player ended up scoring Espanyol's goal, which meant that Real Madrid lost the match. They dropped 3 points, and of course, their lead now is at risk. Now, after that incident, which, by the way, 100% should have been red card, nobody's denying that. Real Madrid, of course, did what they always do. They released a statement, which was a pretty ironic statement, but nonetheless, this is what they had to say, and I will make it bigger just so you guys can see it better. But it said, scandalous refereeing and VAR performance. Decisions against Real Madrid have reached a level of manipulation and adulteration of the competition that can no longer be ignored. So, ladies and gentlemen, pay attention to this. Decisions against Real Madrid have reached a level of manipulation and adulteration. So they're not coming out and saying, hey, this was a clear error. Refereeing needs to be improved. Like, how can they commit such an error? No. They're directly accusing referees of manipulating and adulterating the competition against Real Madrid. Real Madrid. We're talking about the club that has, historically speaking, most benefited from refereeing errors, and that's documented. That's not an opinion. That's an actual fact. Real Madrid is the club that has most benefited from refereeing errors, and yet they have the audacity of saying that the referees are manipulating the competition against them. I mean, this is mind-blowing. Just this season, they have 10 penalties in their favor, 0 against. When you look at other clubs, Atletico Madrid have 3 penalties in their favor, 3 against. Athletic Club de Bilbao, 3 penalties in their favor, 3 against. Barcelona, 4 penalties in their favor, 3 against. Real Madrid, 10 in their favor and 0 against. And yet they have the audacity of saying that the referees are manipulating the competition against them, even though week after week, this entire season has been filled with controversies, with robberies, with horrendous referee mistakes in favor of Real Madrid. In fact, just today, we're not even talking about 120 years of Real Madrid benefiting from referees. We're not even talking about the entire season. Just today, Real Madrid played against Leganés. And in the match, and I want you to see this because, of course, there won't be a statement by Real Madrid because, of course, in this time it benefit them. But let's look at what happened today. Okay? Let's see. We're going to share this. My computer just decided to freeze a little bit, but okay. Here we go. Here we go. Check this out. I'll make it bigger too so you can see it. Boom. Takes them down in the box. Clear foul. No penalty. This happened today, ladies and gentlemen. Today, a day after Real Madrid posted that statement stating that referees are manipulating the competition against them. This is absolutely mind-blowing. It's so hypocritical that at this point it's just laughable. And by the way, after this, I will be making a video, a collection of all the refereeing errors just this season in favor of Real Madrid and against Barcelona. So stay tuned for that video. But it looks like this antics of Real Madrid were, again, they have been favored by referees for 120 years because those in power have always been Madridistas. I mean, right now, La Liga's president, Javier Tebas, self-declared Madridista. The Royal Spanish Football Federation, Rafael Luzan, self-declared Madridista. Most of the people on the CTA, the committee referees, self-declared Madridistas. And most referees are self-declared Madridistas. So Madrid has always benefited from refereeing mistakes. That's documented, that's historical, that's a fact, that's not an opinion. But yet they always play the victim's card. They always talk about how refereeing is against them, which is absolutely incorrect, factually speaking. And not to mention everything that they've been doing with Real Madrid TV since last season. Consistently finding out whatever referee is going to be in charge of their upcoming match and start posting videos talking about how this referee is horrible, how this referee has always ruled against them just to put pressure on them. And it has worked. It has worked because we've seen it. Referees are terrified of ruling against Real Madrid, and that's why they have 10 penalties in their favor and 0 against them. So not only has Real Madrid always benefited from refereeing, but they're the ones manipulating the league because they are putting pressure on referees through Real Madrid TV. And despite Real Madrid actually manipulating the competition, despite Real Madrid always benefiting from refereeing mistakes, they have the audacity of putting this statement of playing the victim's card. And La Liga clubs have said enough is enough, and they have started to speak out. Now, there have been multiple clubs who have spoken about this. It started with we're going to start with the statement of Athletic Clubs de Bilbao's president, who said the following. I'm going to start with 2 anecdotes. We played at the Bernabeu 2 seasons ago. It was the last day of La Liga, and Dani Carvajal made a violent tackle on Yuri and broke his fibula. If you guys don't remember that, I will show you the video in a little bit. We finished the game with 1 less player because we had no more substitutions, but the referee only showed Carvajal a yellow. We were playing for European qualifications level at 1-1, and we missed out. There are specific plays that annoys us all. So the president of Athletic Club de Bilbao reminding Real Madrid, hey, you're crying about refereeing. Your player broke our player's leg, and he only received a yellow. And on top of that, they ended up missing on a European competition, which cost them millions of euros. So not only were Athletic Club de Bilbao prejudiced because they lost a player, they were out of substitution, so they had to play with a man down because his leg was broken and he couldn't sub anyone in. But on top of that, they ended up missing millions of euros from missing out on European competitions thanks to refereeing mistakes. Now, if you don't know what the president of Athletic Club de Bilbao is talking about, I'm going to show you because, again, according to Real Madrid, they're the victims of refereeing. But let's look at this. Here's the play. I'll make it bigger. Here's Carvajal. Here's Yuri, Athletic Club de Bilbao player. And look what he does to him. Straight kick to the leg. Ball is nowhere close. Breaks his fibula. This wasn't just a kick. He actually broke his leg. And this received a yellow card. Just watch it again. This was a yellow card according to the referees. And again, he broke his fibula. This wasn't just a kick he hurt and he got out. Broke his fibula. And as a result, Athletic Club de Bilbao ended up missing out on European competitions because they were down a man because they couldn't sub anyone in. But according to Real Madrid, they're the victims. Now, let's continue because Atletico de Madrid, we go from Athletic Club to Atletico Madrid. Also, their president issued a statement, but I'm not going to focus on the statement. I'm going to focus on the funny part of what they did because Atletico Madrid have been trolling Real Madrid all day on Twitter. And I thought this was hilarious. That's why I decided to focus more on their tweets rather than the statement of their president. But check this out. As you know, Atletico Madrid have a match upcoming against Real Madrid, the derby. And Atletico Madrid's Twitter account published this. It said basic instructions for the derby, the match between both clubs. Number 1, good physical preparation. And here we see these, they're lifting weights. Number 2, massage, pre-match massage. Number 3, good tactical analysis. And number 4, use your official TV station to put pressure on the referees. So this is Atletico Madrid's instructions for the derby. You have to do physical preparation, pre-match massage, good tactical analysis, and of course, use your TV to put pressures on the referees. Of course, referencing Real Madrid's TV's antics of constantly posting videos, putting pressure on the referees by saying that they're corrupt, that they always rule against them, etc. But that's not all. That's not all. Atletico Madrid's Twitter account has been absolutely on fire. This is their next tweet. It's in Spanish, so I will hit translate post. Let's see. They tag the RAE. If you don't know what it is, that's the official institution of Spanish. They're the ones, the official academy, the Royal Academy of Spanish. They're the ones who preserve the language. They're the official ruling body on the language, the rules of the language, etc. So they tag the Royal Academy of Spanish and they say, these days we are being asked a lot about a subject that we do not want to be wrong about. Can you help us clarify? Right? So they're asking for clarification on the meanings of some words. And they put to pressure, to intimidate, coerce, to frighten, influence, impose, and they say thank you very much. So they're trying to clarify the meaning of these words. In other words, they're making fun of what Real Madrid TV do, which all those synonyms, pressure, coerce, frighten, intimidate the referees through their weekly videos, where every time Real Madrid finds out who the referee is in charge of their match, they immediately start publishing videos talking about how this referee is corrupt and he always rules against them. But anyways, it doesn't stop there because also Real Betis president came out and spoke about Real Madrid's statement, and this is what he had to say. By the way, real quick context before we go into tomorrow, there's a meeting at the Royal Spanish Football Federation to discuss refereeing because there's been a lot of complaints, and Real Madrid have actually decided to boycott that meeting. Real Madrid are boycotting because they're upset, because they're the victims, remember. So with that in mind, let's look at the statement of the president of Real Betis. Tomorrow, we will be there in Madrid for the meeting. And of course, I do not share Real Madrid's statement. In their expressions, I think that unnecessary pressure is put on the refereeing collective, something that he had already been doing through the different videos with Real Madrid TV. I think there are things to improve, but it must be done from a serene dialogue where there is no action in front of the gallery or in a populist way. I think that all of us who are involved in this activity have to be honest. The refereeing collective, the federation, and the clubs. But those statements certainly do not help. What's more, also from my point of view, the Spanish Football Federation has been lukewarm. Betis have rarely issued statements, and the statements have always been for specific issues or for mistakes that at some point we have determined to be rude. And you have to remember that when that happened, the federation has been totally forceful with Betis. It is true that it was another federation, but I think we have to be a little more forceful and not allow this type of statement to be made happily, because if not, we are all going to destroy football. Now, focus on the last statement. This is why I reserved this statement to last. But he says we are all going to destroy football if these type of statements are allowed. Now, to summarize his statement, he's pretty much saying that yes, there is a problem with refereeing. I mean, that's obvious. We all see it. There's mistakes in all matches, week in and week out. It needs to be fixed, but the way to fix it is with a dialogue. It's sitting down, all the clubs, sitting down the CTA, the refs, the Royal Spanish Football Federation, the Liga, and talk about it. What's going on? Why is it going on? How can we fix it? That's how you go about facing a problem. At least that's how you do it in a civilized adult manner. But making these kind of statements, straight up accusing referees of just manipulating the entire league because they made a mistake against you, that's not the way to do it. And Real Betis' president warns that if we allow these kind of statements, all we're doing is destroying football. And this is very, very important because a lot of times people come on this channel and they say, hey, referee ruled against Barcelona. There's obviously like some kind of conspiracy. Javier Tebas is trying to get Barcelona. Now we're saying, no. There's no conspiracy here. This is simple mediocrity, simple incompetence. These referees are incompetent. They're not well trained. They don't understand the rules well, and that's why they make the mistakes. And what makes all worse is La Liga's incapability of retraining these referees or training them in a better manner to where they can do their job better. That's the problem. There is no conspiracy. No one is bribing refs. No one is paying refs. Or I always make it very, very clear. Why do I do that? Because you have to remember, by saying that there is a conspiracy, by saying that these referees are doing this on purpose, you're ruining the entire league. Because you don't get to say it's manipulated when it affects you, but then say it's legit when it benefits you. Right? If we want to go back and say Real Madrid won all those trophies because this league is corrupted, that also applies to the trophies that Barcelona won. Because if the whole league is corrupted, then nothing that comes out of it is valid. Whether it's your team winning or another team winning, right? Because when a league is corrupted, it implies that it's up for sale. And whoever won it that year, it means they're the ones who paid the highest price. So just like you're trying to invalidate what Madrid has achieved by saying that the league is corrupted, you're also invalidating what Barcelona did too. Because that means that those years, Barcelona were the highest bidder. And that's why they got to win things. That's why you got to be very careful when you make these kind of statements. And this is what the Real Betis president is also saying. Because you don't get to say it's corrupted when it hurts you, but, it's completely legit when it benefits you. You can't have it both ways. It's either always corrupted or it's not corrupt. So very important message from the president of Real Betis. Now, these are not the only clubs that have issued statements. Valencia has issued a statement. Espanyol have issued a statement. Pretty much most of the clubs in the league have issued statements because, again, people are sick and tired of Real Madrid's antics. The club that has historically speaking, has most benefited from refereeing errors, and yet they want to play the victim's card. Now, we will end with Gerard Piqué's statement, which, of course, he's not an actual club. He's a person, but I think it's a good note to end it because it pretty much summarizes what Real Madrid are doing and have always done. Piqué said the statement is a complete smokescreen because they have been doing it for 120 years, and when they lose, they have to talk about something else because that is what they want. The referees' conversation will always exist, and this is what they have always done in Madrid. Turning on the machinery when things are not going well, and we are used to it. So there you have it, folks. This is nothing new. Madrid have always done that. When they don't like it, they cry. They unleash all the media stations and reporters that they have on their payroll, programs like El Chiringuito, etc. media outlets like us, and that's what they do. All right, let's start with the comment section, and then we will talk about Hansi Flick's statements. I know this first segment was pretty long, but there was a lot to cover, and things have to be said. Jose Aguilar says Madrid has been robbing since 1902. Nothing new. What can I say, my friend? Curtis says the truth about who really manipulate the referees is coming out. Indeed. I think we're reaching a tipping point. I think for the longest time, Madrid have always done this. This is nothing new. They've done it throughout their entire history. And for the first time, I think we're reaching a tipping point where the clubs are no longer afraid of speaking out and they're just saying enough is enough. You benefit from refereeing errors week after week, season after season, decade after decade, and then you want to play the victims card. That's the worst part. See, Real Madrid are digging their own grave because everybody knows they've always benefited from refereeing. But if they were just to stay quiet, just shut up and keep benefiting from it, they probably wouldn't be in this mess that they're in. But they want to benefit from it, and then they want to turn around and play victim. And that's where the problem lies. That's where these clubs are so upset. They're not only upset that Madrid is constantly benefiting from these errors, they're upset that on top of that, Madrid has the audacity of playing the victims card. And it's like, dude, the ball's on you. The ball's on you. All right, let's see. Nima says, loving the title of the stream. Hope there's continuity to this unit. I hope so too, my friend. I really do, because enough is enough. And Klaus says, Mo's hardworking man. God bless you, my brother. Thank you, Klaus. It's always good to see you in the live stream. I know it's pretty late right now in the UK, so thank you for joining. And Jara says, good night, Mo. So they're going to turn a blind eye to this incident. So sick of La Liga and the Super Madrid system. I hope not. I really hope that now that the clubs are finally uniting and speaking out, because for the longest time, it's always been Barcelona. Just Barcelona saying, hey, what's going on here? What's going on here? And, nobody else joining it. And of course, it's easy to ignore one person complaining. But when everybody starts complaining, then you're like, okay, we need to do something because, there's obviously something going on here. Aral says, I just don't get it. Why didn't Ancelotti move the ref to the striker role? They were clearly struggling and they needed their best player. I don't know. Maybe the Papa Perez's check didn't clear. I'm kidding, of course. But anyways, let's get back to the news, because, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow it's the Copa del Rey quarterfinals. So far, we do have two teams in the semifinals. The first one is Atletico de Madrid, who beat Getafe 5-0. Today, Real Madrid won 3-2 against Leganés in the final moments of the match. 3-2 against Leganés. I mean, Madrid are just a complete mess this season, and I think they know it, but of course they're not going to admit it. So it's easier to just blame the referees and say that this, La Liga is manipulated. The same way they blamed their failures on Negreira because they just couldn't withstand the fact that Pep Guardiola cooked them for so long. And instead of saying, hey, okay, yeah, he was better than us, it happened, but now we're better. No. Let's come up with excuses. So that's exactly what they're doing. But anyways, both Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid are through. Tomorrow we play against Valencia at Mestalla, difficult stadium. And of course, as usual, Hansi Flick did participate in a pre-match press conference where, of course, one of the main questions was, what do you think about the Real Madrid statement? And I will cover it just because we did the first segment about the whole Real Madrid thing. But here is how a proper gentleman, a proper adult, civilized adult handles this situation. But Hansi Flick said, if I'm honest, I don't want to talk about it. They have done so, but that is not our style. We don't make excuses. Every club has its own way. We are human and we make mistakes. The referees have a complicated job and we have to take care of it. It's not easy for them. I think I've said it all. When I arrived, I said I didn't want excuses or complaints. We have to win our games, and we know that we have let several points slip away. That's our fault. We have to see what we can do. On Sunday, we have another important game, but the first thing is to win in Valencia. So Hansi Flick, pretty much being Hansi Flick as always, He refuses to make excuses. When the team loses, is because the team did not perform well. When the team wins, is because the team performed well. It's pretty simple. If you want to start laying excuses on the referees, on the sun, on the grass, you're never going to improve, because how can you improve? You didn't do anything wrong, right? It was the referee's fault. It was the sun's fault. It was the grass fault. So what is there to improve? There's nothing to improve because it wasn't your fault. Of course, Hansi Flick applying that same logic not only to his team, but the Real Madrid statement, or saying, look, where I'm not gonna make any excuses, and no club should. And I agree 100% with him, because if you watch the match against Espanyol where Madrid lost 0-1, Madrid did not lose because of that call where the Espanyol player should receive a red card. I mean, maybe it would have helped, but Madrid lost because they didn't do enough. They played horrible. They couldn't finish the chances they created, and they left their back completely exposed, which allowed Espanyol to mount the comeback, the counterattack, which led to the goal, which wasn't the first one. Espanyol had another 2 or 3 clear chances where they could have converted 2, but unfortunately for them, they don't really have the quality up there to convert them. But if you look at that match, Madrid did not lose because of that call. They simply lost because they didn't do enough, like they have been the entire season. Madrid have been playing horrible the entire season. That's why they got spanked 4-0 by Barcelona in the first Clasico. That's why they got spanked 5-2, which could have been easily 8-2 had in Wojciech Szczesny got a red card, because they are not playing well. But instead of assuming the responsibility, instead of admitting, hey, we're not doing well, let's figure out what's going wrong. Let's figure out a way to fix it. No. It's the referee's fault. And Hansi Flick refuses to do the same with Barcelona. And for that, I applaud him like I always have whenever he's asked about refereeing. Now, on to the next statement, because Hansi Flick was asked about the goalkeeper. Is the goalkeeper going to be Inaki Pena tomorrow? Because as you know, Barcelona's usually rule or custom is you have your first goalkeeper who plays in La Liga and the Champions League, and then you have your second goalkeeper who plays in a Copa del Rey. And in previous press conferences, Hansi Flick had made it clear that Szczesny was his number one goalkeeper. And per Barcelona's tradition, number one goalkeeper plays in La Liga and a champion. So by default, you would think, okay, well, Inaki Pena is now number 2, so that means he's going to be the goalkeeper for Copa del Rey. And this is what Hansi Flick had to say. Szczesny is number 1. It's clear. They are both great goalkeepers. The decision is the one we have made, and we have to stick with it. We always decide for the good of the team, and that's how I want to do it. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Hansi Flick completely closing the door on Inaki Pena. It's not just, oh, Szczesny's number 1, Inaki Pena is number 2, so he's going to play the Copa del Rey. No, it's Szczesny's number 1, Inaki's number 2, and he's not going to play a single competition. Not looking good for Inaki Pena. I don't know what happened. I'm starting to feel like maybe a relationship broke down between the two, or maybe Flick just thinks Szczesny's better and he should be the goalkeeper in all competitions. I don't know. As you know, Hansi Flick keeps a really tight lid on things that happen within the locker room, so there's no way to find out. And therefore, I do turn a question to you guys. What do you think happened? You think the relationship broke down between the two, and that's why Inaki Pena has completely been shunned? Or do you think Flick is just simply thinks, hey, Szczesny's better, and he's so much better that he should be the goalkeeper in all competitions? Let me know in the chat section or in the comment section if you're watching the podcast once it ends. All right, let's get back to the comment section, and then we will talk about the next right back that Barcelona are currently eyeing out of the Premier League. All right, Providencia Rodriguez says, remember when Salah got injured and Ramos didn't get sent off and Madrid won the UCL? I mean, look, if we're going to go mistake by mistake by mistake that benefit Real Madrid, we'll be here until 2030. And we would be just covering the mistakes from now and before. We wouldn't even be able to cover the mistakes that are going to happen from here until 2030. So, yes, I remember it very well. But like I said, Kada King says, it's about time these idiots stop worrying about Olmo and fight for fairness in La Liga. Yeah, a little bit, 120 years a little bit late, but hey, it's better now than never. Abdul Jalil says, I think next season La Liga won't be among the top three except if we win Champions League because they are just a joke. Yeah, I think they're number three now. Bundesliga. La Liga used to be number one, by the way. But thanks to the amazing work that Javier Tebas has been doing, it dropped to number two, where the Premier League surpassed us. And then I think officially last season or the one before, the Bundesliga surpassed us. The Bundesliga, guys. A one horse race surpassed us. It's crazy. I mean, yeah, sure. Last season was Bayer Leverkusen who won it, blah, blah, blah. But how often does that really happen in the Bundesliga? I mean, Bayern Munich went on a, was it 8 consecutive year or 9 consecutive year run where they won the Bundesliga season after season after season. And yet they still surpassed La Liga. I mean, that's how great of a job Javier Tebas is doing. I mean, bravo. Sonic Boom says Laporta's afraid to his master Perez. That he has no balls to take stand against Perez. So Madrid needed someone like Piqué. I mean, I don't know what you're basing that off. Laporta has made many statements against what's going on. He's even personally sent letters to the Royal Spanish Federation, to La Liga. So John Williams says, hey, Mo, how are you? It excites me to see how bonded Flick is to his players and how much he loves them. I also see that in their trainings. Flick is more than a coach, but a father and friend. You know what? It's so funny that you mentioned that because I was literally thinking about that today. I was taking a break, sitting down in bed, and I was thinking to that video. I covered this in a previous video, but Gabi during the match. Which match was it? I think Valencia. The match against Valencia, we're up 7-1 or 6-1, and Hansi Flick calls Gabi and he's like, "Hey, you wanna?" Was it Valencia? Whichever match we were winning by a big difference, and Hansi Flick tries to bring Gabi in, and Gabi says like, "No, give my minutes to Pablo Torre," and they released a video from the sidelines that shows the moment that Gabi's selling that, and the way just Hansi Flick is like thanks them and hugs them, and so I was literally thinking about that moment, and I was thinking to myself, yeah, he really is not just a coach, but I think he's become like a father figure where he's so close to his players, the players are so close to him, and they just like they're in such a good dynamic. And I think that's what's making this team so good. Besides Flick's tactics, besides the quality of the players, that's another factor on why this team has been doing so well. Excluding that batch that we had in November and December, I think because the closeness, it's not just Flick to his player, but the players to each other. I mean, we see it when they celebrate a goal, they all run and hug each other. And they don't celebrate like, oh, I scored a goal. It's like, no, we scored a goal. That's how they celebrate. And it's very special to see. And it's something that's very important in a team that wants to aspire for everything. You need that closeness because when you're that close, then you don't just play for yourself. You start playing for your teammates. Because not only do you not want to disappoint yourself, you don't want to disappoint your teammates, right? Because that's how close you feel to them, right? You don't want to let them down. It's kind of like you wouldn't stop fighting for your parents or siblings because you love them and you don't want to disappoint them. It's the same thing in a locker room when it becomes really close. You don't want to disappoint them. You don't want to let them down. So you just fight harder. You play better. Lastly, Jorge says, how can you call yourself the biggest club in the world when all you did is complain like a kid? Lack of class. I mean, there's not just that, there's many things that show that Madrid lack class, but this is one of them. Anyways, let's do the last bit of news. And then we'll do more comments, I promise. But let's talk about another right back that Barcelona are currently tracking and could look to sign in the summer transfer market. Now, as I reported before, Deco wants to reinforce 3 key positions. The left wing, because that's number 1 priority, because of course we don't have a proper left winger. And then the 2 fullback positions, which are the left back and the right back, because right now Deco feels that the 2 starters, Balde and Kunde, don't really have competition. They have backups, but they don't have competitions. You know, Balde and Gerard Martin, sure, they both can cover that position, but Balde is miles ahead of Gerard Martin, and you need that pressure right on your starter. You need a starter, and you need his backup to be almost as good as him, and you need him to be putting pressure on him so he doesn't slip up, so he doesn't think, oh, I don't have to work hard or train hard. What's going to happen? They're going to put that guy in my place? That guy sucks, right? So you need a backup that can exert pressure on your starter to maintain that competition so both can maintain their levels. And right now we don't have that, right? Valde is miles ahead of Gerard Martin. Kunde is miles ahead of Hector Fort. So Deco wants to reinforce both positions with quality players that can compete against them. Now, as far as the right back position, we've talked about some of the options that Barcelona are looking at. We have Vanderson in Monaco. And then, of course, we do have Marc Pubil that we talked about yesterday in the last video. And now we have another name that has been added to the list. And this name you might be familiar with because we've actually talked about before, and it's Daniel Munoz. If you don't know who Daniel Munoz is, he's a 28-year-old right back, Colombian right back, who currently plays in the Premier League for Crystal Palace. He has been killing it in the Premier League, so much so that he has attracted the attention of some of the big players in the Premier, including Manchester City and Chelsea. And of course, he also has attracted the attention of Barcelona, who are closely tracking his career with the possibility of Barcelona trying to sign him this summer. Now, Daniel Munoz has a contract until 2027 with a market value of 25 million euros. But of course, with Chelsea and Man City right there, it could be a difficult operation for Barcelona because, as we know, all clubs in the Premier League, even like the bottom clubs, Ipswich Town has more money than Barcelona, however you say that club's name. Now, Barcelona do have a big plus in their column, and it's that Daniel Munoz has said in the past that it's his absolute dream to play for Barcelona, that growing up, he actually, hold on a second, they keep ringing my bell. Okay. That growing up, he actually was a big fan of Barca, that he became a big fan of Barca because of Ronaldinho. So I think that's a big plus, obviously, because if he's given an option, I'm pretty sure he's going to choose Barca if he says that it's dream, unless Man City and Chelsea make some crazy offers as far as salary, which, of course, it's very much expected. But anyways, Daniel Munoz, another player that Barcelona are considering for the right back position alongside Vanderson and Marc Pubil, which begs the question, and I want to turn this question to you guys. Who do you guys prefer out of those three? Do you like Vanderson? Do you like Marc Pubil? Daniel Munoz? Let me know in the chat section or in the comment section if you're watching this once it ends. All right, we do have our first donation of the night, Nathan. So thank you so much, my friend, for your generous donation. But it says, hi, Mo, I have a question. How much money does Barca have now, and are they able to afford the signings in the summer? I mean, I don't know if that's a question I could answer. Like, how much money does Barca have? I mean, are we talking about how much is in their account? How much money are they going to make? Because Barcelona have forecasted that they're going to close this year, which ends in June, the fiscal year, not the calendar year. I think, if I'm not mistaken, with like 10 or 50 million euros in profits, which is not a lot, right? And a lot of it has to do with the fact that we had to play the Olympic Stadium. Now, this budget that Barcelona released, the fiscal year forecast that they released in the summer, included profits from returning to the Camp Nou, which that hasn't happened. So there is a chance that we might be making even less of a profits when the fiscal year ends, or God forbid, we might end up in the red, which means we spent more than we brought in. Unless, of course, we make it far into the Champions League, because that would be more revenue. So then that could cover the missed revenue from not making it to the Camp Nou, from not returning to the Camp Nou. There's also, winning competitions, right? If we win La Liga, we get more money. If we win the Copa del Rey, we get more money. We already won the Spanish Super Cup, so we got more money. So if we go far or further in competitions than what was initially forecasted in the fiscal plan for this year, then we could end up covering for the losses that we have sustained by not moving back to the Camp Nou on time. So that's the question. Can we make huge signings in the summer? No. And this is something I talked about in the past because people were like, oh, we reached the 1-1. That's it. We can sign Haaland, Mbappe, and everybody out there just all at once. The best 11 we can. It's like, no. 1-1 doesn't mean infinite money. All 1-1 means is for every euro you make, you can spend on a player. If we sell Frankie for 100 million, we can take the full 100 million and use it to sign someone else. Right? Before, we were under the 1-4 rule, which means if we sold Frankie for 100 million, you would only be able to use 25 million to sign someone else. That's all the 1-1 rule means, that you can use every euro you make of sales of players to sign new ones, but you still have to make that money. 1-to-1 rule doesn't mean that your account all of a sudden the next day you wake up and there's €1 billion just sitting there. It's just not how it happens. All right, let's see. Romanian says, this is why I hope Man City trashed them in the Champions League. Let's see who would save them then. Oh, man, I hope so too. But the way Man City are right now, I mean, it's not about like battle of the deadbeats. I mean, it sounds awful, but it really is. I mean, you have two teams that have imploded this season or playing horrendously, facing each other, which actually might be a good match because, good matches is not necessarily two great teams. Good matches consist of two equally level teams, whether they're both great or they both suck or they both middle. As long as it's the same level, that's usually a really good match, right? Versus, having someone who's really great and someone who's really bad. I mean, yeah, sure, it's great. You see a lot of goals, but it's not really entertaining match because you're just watching someone getting blasted, right? But two teams at the same level, that's usually very interesting. So it might be not because they're both great, but because they both suck. I think Flick just picked Chesney because he thinks he's better. Flick also said they're both very good keepers and said it was one of his toughest decisions. I mean, look, Chesney is a great goalkeeper. He's been top 10 in Europe for the past decade. He's a great stopper. Has plenty of experience, way more than Inaki Pena. He's played at the highest levels, multiple clubs, multiple leagues. So undoubtedly, on paper, Chesney is 10 times better than Inaki. My problem, of course, is that he's never played with a high line, so he's not used to playing with a high line. So that's why he makes the mistakes that he makes. And that's a problem, right? On paper, you could be better than someone else, but doesn't mean that you're better for the team that you're in, right? It's all about fitting. It's kind of like Eddie Garcia and Ronald Araujo, right? Ronald Araujo on paper is 100 times better than Eddie Garcia. But right now, Eddie Garcia is fitting in better because he can build plays from the back, which Araujo can't. Does that mean Edic's better than Araujo? No. Araujo's still better than Edic. But it's a problem of fit. He doesn't fit right now. Of course, Araujo could always improve, and same with Chesney. He can always improve. But right now, it's a problem of fitting in versus skill-wise because Chesney, I do believe he's way more skilled than Inaki Pena. Steve says, hi, Mo, I like your interview. You are doing a great job. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. And thank you for being a member. Really appreciate that. And Steve also says, tell you to be honest, Barcelona, the best team this moment. I agree with that statement for sure. And Steve also says, I believe they're going to beat Valencia tomorrow. I hope so. I don't need a 7-1. A good convincing win. I'm happy with. Let's do a 5-0. Just kidding. I just want Barca to win in a good convincing way, and I'll be happy. Archie says, apparently it's the immigration that's ringing your bell for deeper. I guess so. They're coming for me. Well, I got news. You can't get me because you can't. SA says, Zion Suzuki, that black Japanese keeper from Parma now. So exciting. The club probably would take him in a Pena swap maybe. I'm kind of not for Barcelona bringing in a keeper because we have two great keepers in the academy. I mean, we have Diego Cochen and Iker Rodriguez, which is funny that his name is Iker because, Iker Casillas. So give them a chance because, look, Ter Stegen is going to be back at the end of the season, right? So he's going to go back to being number one goalkeeper. Chesney will probably leave because, the whole point was just bringing him until Ter Stegen is healed. And then Peña will probably leave too. So use Cochen and Iker. Make one of them the second goalkeeper, the other one the third. Because they're very talented. And if you bring in another young goalkeeper to be the future goalkeeper, they're both going to leave because they're going to be like, what am I doing here? There's a first and a second goalkeeper. What am I going to be? Right? So I'm kind of against bringing in another goalkeeper, but that's just my opinion. Of course, I'm not a sporting director, nor am I a scout. So the club knows best. Emperor says, playing for Barca is a thing of pride and joy. It's a team you will want to give your life to. Amen. And Best in the Game says, who can we permanently sign or loan for our left wing? Well, right now, there's obviously the Nico Williams option, which is still on the table. And then there is the option of, which I'm completely blanking on his name, the guy that plays for Deportivo La Coruña. Right now, those are the two options that are really being considered for the summer. Of course, in the winter, it was Marcus Rashford, but that's not going to happen on a permanent transfer in the summer. So those are the two options. Anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in, for your likes, your comments, your subscriptions, your generous donations. If you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you do. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. I'm going to be making another video after this one, highlighting every referee error in favor of Real Madrid and against Barcelona this season. If I were to do it over the last 120 years, forget about it. It's not gonna be a video. It's gonna be I don't know, a 10-year documentary. Anyways, but stay tuned to that video. Again, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, Visca Barça.